I'm a senior systems engineer for Novell. I've been working on and off for Novell for close to 19 years. I installed my first Novell server in 1983 when I was working for a reseller, so I've been doing this for quite a while. So I told myself a little bit about myself. How many people here have had a file server in their business for more than 5 years? You don't know? 5 years? You don't know how long you've had a network? 10 years? Don't know? Okay. I know customers of mine, if I use the example of Health Canada has 500 terabytes of data, and their network was first installed in 1986. Try and guess how many files 500 terabytes would have. I can tell you it's a lot. And they have a problem that we see that's common to a lot of us, and that problem is when we get a lot of files, when we start having a lot of work that we do in interaction with a file server or file servers, we get inundated with files. And at one point we lose track of what files matter, right? We know we want to keep some of them. We know some of them no longer are interesting for us, right? But how do we determine which files are good and which files are not good? And what do we do about them? How do we separate them? Well, we're here to talk to you about why files matter. And one of the things that our IT people ask is there a better way to manage this? Now, why do they ask this? They ask it for a few different reasons, right? Any of you here in IT, or you're all on the business app side, IT, so, you know, quite often you get asked to create a new user, right? And you can be saying, well, right now I'm in the middle of building a cluster, or I'm in the middle of doing something relevant for the company, and the person says, no, this is for somebody on Mahogany Row. This CX fill in the blank needs to have their set up right away. So what do? You drop what you're doing, you quickly set them up, you set the rights, you hope to get it right, and you wonder, is there a better way to do this? I mean, it's kind of monkey work, right? You don't really want to have to sit there and generate users and create their home drives and get their rights going and whatever. And what if you make an error? What if you put too many rights and give them too much access? Conversely, the users are looking here and they're saying, we want to be able to get access to our files. We want to be able to just click in there, get our work done. Somebody says, I'd like you to work on a project with me, William. So William turns around and says, I'd love to do that, goes into the subdirectory, realizes he has no rights to get there. So he's going back to the IT guy, the guy we saw frustrated in the last slide, and saying, help me, I need some rights. Or they tell you to go and find a specific file for what you're doing, William, and what happens? You start looking at the 52 drive letters they assigned to you, and you're saying, where is this file, right? So it becomes a problem. Or you can get to the file, and all of a sudden it says permission denied. On the finance side, this is one of my favorite questions. We're going to pretend for a second here that Brandon is the finance CFO. He's the gentleman with the tie here, and Joseph goes up to him once a year and says, okay, Brandon, I'm in for my yearly meeting to talk about storage costs. And this year I predict I need 2.5 terabytes of new data storage. Can I do that? And Brandon puts his pencil together, he puts his spreadsheet, and he says, yeah, we can afford 2.5 terabytes, make it so. Joseph's a responsible guy, so what does he do? He goes out, he gets 2 quotes, gets the quotes for the storage, gets the quotes for the additional cooling he needs, and off he goes. One problem. Brandon gets a knock on his door in 4 months or 4.5 months, and Joseph is there hat in hand and says, do you recall when I asked you for 2.5 terabytes? And Brandon goes, yes, I do. I paid for it recently. I didn't get it right. I need another 0.5 terabyte. And this happens every 4 months, and Brandon's going, why am I continuing to buy new storage for these people? Because there's no predictable way. And Brandon's other question, I know you have this question, right, Brandon? You're asking, why do I have more storage? Can't these people decide what files they don't want and just get rid of them so I don't have to keep buying cooling, storage, and more resources to manage it? And then your CISO comes in and he says, guess what, guys? And this young lady here, Lynn is the CISO, and she comes in and she says, guess what? Tomorrow morning, we're going to have an audit started, and they want to audit everything we're doing. And one of the things that Lynn was told is the auditors are very curious to see who has rights to what. Because you got HIPAA compliance, you got PIPEDA compliance, you might even have Sarbanes-Oxley, and you've got all these other things that you're messing with. And she's saying, you're going to be able to tell me what files people have access to, right? And William looks and says, I sure hope so. But how do you do it? How do I get through it? Well, the solution is File Management Suite. And what we're able to do with File Management Suite is we can build reports that can find it, build reports that can identify it. We can tell you how old your data is. We can tell you what's been used and what's not been used. And do you remember when you had that really lovely video of Justin Bieber that somebody sent you in an email? It's been saved 1,000 times. So you got 1,000 copies of this somewhere on your network, and you're wondering, why do we have 1,000 copies of this? So let me give you an example of how your life would look if you had File Management Suite in place. So here's Jane Doe, and pay attention to Jane. She's a very upwardly mobile lady. She's going to get promoted in about 4 slides. So right here, Jane gets hired, and she's part of critical care, right? So what does she need to do her job? She needs her home directory. She needs a department directory. Maybe she needs access to the HIPAA files and the X-ray files. And maybe it'd be a really cool idea to give her the spreadsheets she needs, the templates, to give her the acceptable usage policies for data, because Lynn's gotten beaten up about enough audits. So she's put out acceptable usage policies, and off she goes, right? So she needs all this, and Brandon typically would have had to go in and create this one by one and make sure all the rights are right, and then go back and check with Lynn and say, is this rights mask okay? Well, let's put FMS in place and watch what happens. Jane Doe gets hired, and we run these policies that are built into File Management Suite, and we automatically create her home directory for her in New York. We grant her access to the critical care department, which means that we automatically create in her home directory additional folders that give her the rights to the files and templates that she needs for critical care. And we do that automatically with a policy. The minute that somebody gets registered into Active Directory or into eDirectory for Novell, Active Directory for Windows, voila, with our software, they're immediately created in whatever department they have. Now, I told you ladies to pay attention to this girl because she gets promoted quickly. So she was critical care. She's only been there for about 4 minutes of her presentation. She's already been promoted to pediatrics, and she's moving to London, England. Lucky lady. So what do we do with File Management Suite? Again, we have these policies we put in place. We create them once. And why is it good to create them only once, William? You don't make mistakes, because you create it one time, you have the rights mask tested, Lynn can have it verified with her auditor, and all of a sudden we realize every time we recreate these, it's like that little donut machine we saw outside. It just automatically makes the donuts. We just put the rights in place that that person needs. So she gets her promotion, she's going to move to London. What do we do with her stuff? Well, we run our software, and she automatically gets moved. Her data gets moved from New York. We automatically get her data placed into a London home directory. So we have the File Management Suite information that will allow her to move that data automatically to London. No intervention with the IT people. We take away her rights from critical care, and we give her rights for pediatrics. So what happens? She gets a new set of templates. She's still ready to do her job the minute she lands in London and starts a new life. And we've taken care of auditing issues because we removed the rights from her former directory. So no rights issues. It's a lot less expensive because you don't have IT care in there, you don't have IT involved, and you're not paying for expensive mistakes. I mentioned that part of the product is File Reporter. File Reporter allows you to do reports like on this one here, top 10 owners by file. Why would that be important? I'll tell you why it'd be important, Lynn. I know you're dying to know. It would be important because when you're trying to decide what tertiary storage you want, you can see who has the most storage, and then you can drill down. You can click on a specific user and see what they're using that file information for. So let's say they're using it as MP3 files or AVIs. Does that belong to the company? We have another part of our software that automatically will groom that off, and you can move it to what we call the vault. Think of it kind of like a penalty box. And it'll stay there for 30 days, 60 days, the amount of time you'd like. And then you can have it automatically deleted if the person doesn't complain about missing files. Or you can just have it stored off on some optical disk. Problem solved. For auditing again, .exe files, files that don't belong there, temporary files, you can just have them deleted. And this is all done automatically. So in this case here, what we're trying to also highlight is that Ms. Cox here she has rights to a finance folder, Amanda Cox, and she should never have those rights. So we have a report that comes out there, and when we drill down, we can see she has these specific rights that were assigned to her. That was done before she had a product like File Management Suite. So what we do is remediate this. Even though the rights were already given, we put a policy out there, and anybody who has rights to folders that they shouldn't have access to, we automatically remove them. So we make her conformant again, which means that, once again, you're in compliance. So the last thing I want to see here is, William, is your eyesight good? What kind of files do we have here? Hotel California, Purple Haze, Free Bird. Well, pretty decent songs, right? But should your healthcare server be this person's personal iPod drive, right? So we can see duplicate files, we can remove them. We can build a mask and say anything that has a .tmp extension, .movie extension, .avi, .mp3, move those puppies and put them on tertiary storage, and at one point you retire them. You just say, bye-bye, those files are gone, and then your network's cleaned up. So that's a little bit about what I wanted to show you. We're showing this all live here. I had a gentleman come over earlier, and he was telling me a problem they have. One of the problems they have is people that keep putting in files that gets him in trouble. And I showed him, I took an executable file, I took a little application called BG Info, and I copied into a subdirectory, and I said, well, here's Amanda Cox's subdirectory. We saw the file go in, I ran my file management magic, and in front of his eyes, in under 4 seconds, the file just disappeared. He said, where did it go? I opened up this other drive called Vault, and there you saw it sitting in the vault, and in 30 days' time, it's just going to retire on its own. I thank you very much for your attention, and I'm going to reintroduce Russell to close us off. Thank you.
All right, let's give him a big round of applause. How did he do on a scale of 1 to 10? 10. 10, wow, nice
Well,
work.
thank you.